Hey, welcome back to Pints and Pals. I'm your host, Jeremy. With me this week, we have Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Hello. I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. So this week we have a beer from Lexington, Kentucky called Blue Stallion. One of the breweries we hit back in June, July. I don't know. Starts with a J. We were up there. It was hot.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous because the can is squishy. So let's
Well, I
crack
had
it
a
open and
hiss,
see.
so that's good.
Whoa.
Ah, yeah.
It looks like there might be some fizz. Oh, not a whole lot.
Got some. I'm percolating a little bit.
Maybe I'll not pour the whole thing. Yeah, it's got some in there. It's a very crystal clear beer. Oh, you can see me.
Oh, yeah. Upside down. So I'm trying to remember this brewery. I don't even remember where it was. I don't know if this was the one that was on, I'm going to call it the island, but there was a strip of kind of breweries really close to each other. There's some that were off the beaten path.
Yeah, I can't remember if we went there. It doesn't seem familiar, so I'm wondering if we just saw it when we went to that beer grotto place and just grabbed everything that we saw, and then. But to be completely honest, I feel like we wouldn't have done that unless they had like a Lexington aisle, which might have been the case.
Well, that's probably what it was. I'm looking at the building right now, and it doesn't look familiar at all.
Okay. Yeah. So we must have just went down that path of hey, here's the section of local breweries of stuff we couldn't hit.
Yeah, we had a pretty healthy list I put together of breweries to go to. I'm gonna have to pull up the sheet one of these days. Of course, not today itself, but yeah. So this is a Helles. Helles should be, well, should look like this. Should be very, very clear. I mean, Kroner needs a little more head.
It smells
okay.
It smells a little off for me, but I think that I've had like a few different Helleses that were like super clean and crisp. They have like almost a citrusy, fruity kind of smell to them.
Well, Helles is one of my favorite styles, and I don't remember citrus being one of the notes.
Maybe it's just the one that I've. Maybe I'm not thinking of citrus. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a Kolsch. I might be getting Kolsch and then confused.
You might be, because there's not much to a Helles. It's more. I mean, there's hops, but they're all German noble hops, and it's pretty laid back.
So we did get this roughly 6 months ago, and we don't know how long ago it was actually packaged.
So, I actually did pull up the sheet, so I lied. That's what I was going to do. I did. It said, yes, we went to the building. So maybe they have two locations when I did a quick Google search. Yeah, and I said, yes, we went there. So we must have went there. Well, it's not too bad. I mean, for an appearance, I mean, that is crystal clear. It has a nice, I don't know, we'll call it straw, golden honey kind of color. Mm-hmm. It's definitely, it's grainy, biscuity a little bit. Not much, just a little.
So
I like it. I think it's good.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say maybe I'm not a huge fan of Helles, but I have I messed up my palate today. We made pizza and I burnt the roof of my mouth on the first piece of pizza. So now I'm tasting basically like iron. So I might be I might not be the best palate taker, but it definitely has lost its carbonation, I think.
Yeah, it's very, very low. You only get a few bubbles overall.
But it's definitely clean.
I mean, it's definitely not the best Helles I've ever had. Well, it's still pretty good, though. I think I like it because it's crisp. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely drink it there. If I were at that brewery, I would definitely be drinking it. And apparently we did. If you want to see the video that we recorded after we went to the brewery and forgot about it, there's
join our Patreon.
Link. Yeah, there's a link in the description, and or it's on our Discord. We recorded a video of that, Jeremy and I, when we got back.
That trip,
and,
yeah.
There's a lot of a lot of interesting stuff that goes on. It's not posted, so if you want to find it, you're gonna have to do some searching in the description.
Some wrangling. Oh, so what would you rate this overall? I know you have a burnt tongue, maybe a little blisters, maybe you taste iron, so obviously your mouth is bleeding, which is not good.
I think that it's hard to say because I feel like I'm giving it an asterisk rating just because I feel like it's past its prime in the container it was served in a little bit. Like the container itself was about as squishy as it is now when it's open. So like either it didn't have a ton of carbonation to start with, or it lost a bunch in transit essentially. So there's that. I think that it's going to be a medium rating for me because I feel like it's not something that I would throw away, but it's also not necessarily I wouldn't go looking for it, especially not unless you're in Lexington. I probably wouldn't try and seek this out on the shelves somewhere in any other place other than Lexington. But having said that, I still think that if I went to this brewery, this is the beer that I would try and pick up to
get a pint of it.
Yeah, because it's just like you're gonna go to like 50 different places, and then you're gonna see like you're gonna hit too many things. I'm trying to find like pictures of this brewery, but I just can't seem to find them. But so long story still long, I guess. I would probably rate it about like a 3.5, maybe a 3.7, somewhere in there.
I think that's a fair score. I think I was going to go with like a 3.5 myself. I think it's pretty good for the style overall. It has a nice nose. It's pretty good on the palate. It's not exactly what I want out of a Helles, because I typically find Helleses to be can be just a tad bit more sweeter, malty, or whatever the characteristics you want to go with. And it's starting to warm up a little bit.
It's very grain forward.
I totally agree with that.
Like I feel like I smell the individual grains, and I don't know if I necessarily. It's not like brewing a beer either. It's like literally like I feel like I'm walking through a wheat field, and like I can or like a grass field that's like overgrown. It's kind of like the smells I'm getting out of this.
So they only use 2 grains in this whole build. They use Pilsner and they use crystal malt, and that is it.
There's no hops.
No, it's for the grain build
for mash. I brew beer. Shut up.
Yeah, that's fine. You're fine. But for the hops, they use. I hate saying this word. Actually, I hate saying 2 of these words because they're German and I fuck them up every time. But you got Hallertau, whatever, Magnum, and Mittelfura. However you want to say it. I don't speak German. The one person that knows a little bit of German, he's on the podcast today. Jason, damn you. Hopefully he'll be back soon. He can help me mispronounce or pronounce my mispronunciations. There you go. And that's really about it. And it's just a lager yeast, so it's very, very vague. What kind of yeast it is? Which I get it. I'm sure it's a house yeast. Something probably cultivated over and over again.
Basically, what a Helles is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a German lager, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
It's
a light lager
version of it, essentially. So, and in our home brewing world, it's a little bit more difficult to brew any kind of lager unless you do a pseudo lager, which is how I've been doing everything, is under pressure. Or you actually have temperature controlling, which Jeremy's kind of dabbled in a little bit with success. But then there's also there's 2 ways of doing it. You can basically have your entire fermenting vessel inside a freezer and then either have a temperature probe taped to the outside, which is a little less accurate, or have it pushed down inside the wort. where it's like churning and doing a whole bunch of bubbling and stuff, and get that way, or you can have it basically pump cold liquid through a chiller that's like submerged within your vessel, which, depending on how you do that, if you get like an immersion chiller, there's a lot of different stuff in the homebrew world that you can kind of dip your toes into. But I feel like there's a lot of ways to kind of spend your money, so to speak.
Yeah, it can be a cheap hobby. It can be a very expensive hobby. You could have a $200 homebrew system and brew for 30 years, be happy. You can have a $50,000 system if you really wanted to. You can start doing barrels and crap like that. Options are endless.
I'm slowly getting further into this hobby, or quickly getting further into this hobby, I suppose. And like, I think that I thought that a Hellas was something that I wanted to try and do, but if it turned out like this one, I don't think I'd be as happy with it as some of the other stuff I've already made. So like getting an ale or something of a similar quality, I feel like is a little easier. It's not going to be clear like this, unless you add like, probably never will be that clear. And especially even if you were to add like gelatin or biofine, which is I think the
vegan version.
The vegan version that doesn't use like pectin or whatever.
You'd have to use a filter, and that's just another expense on top of everything else. The expensive hobby this is. That being said, like I had one of the best Hellas beers at Happy Possum, which is a local homebrewing competition in Bristol, Tennessee. People come from 6-7 states wide to come to it, and he actually gave me his recipe. So that would be the recipe. I think I might share some of it, not all of it, because it is his, by the way. So I'll probably share some of it, leave some stuff out, and then I want to make it.
So how is he controlling the temperature
for lagering, or
for like fermenting? Okay.
So he's actually lagering it. So that's how he's fermenting everything. I did talk to him about like under pressure. He's never done that before. So if I were to do it, I would probably not do under pressure. I would probably just get my system set up the lager. Temp control, a lot of ice, a lot of watching for 7 to 10 days until it gets done, and go about my business. If it turns out good, cool. Then if it turns out really well, then I'm going to do a split batch and try and experiment, do 50-50, do like half the one way, so to use the temp control, and then the other way you use like a spunny valve under pressure. See how that turns out. So that'd be faster too.
So lagering. Can you give a quick like TLDR on what that actually means? Because I didn't know when somebody asked me.
Oh yeah, so basically 2 different styles of beers, you have ales and lagers. So it basically boils down to temperature control and yeast. So for lagering, what happens is the yeast goes to the bottom of the vessels, and the temperature has to be around, let's say, 54 degrees, just for kind of a shot in the dark, and it lagers everything from the bottom up, where ales ferment from the top down. Like, granted, it all gets mixed in the middle, but just kind of how it works, because ales are going to be about 64 to pretty high up there, 90 some odd degrees. And if you're using like Kvike, which is a totally different strain of yeast, you can do 105 degrees and be done in 3 days.
I've heard of people purposely leaving their brew in their garage in the summertime with Kvike yeast and getting it done in like days. I'm like, that seems that just seems scary to me. But apparently it does a really good job.
Well, they've been doing it for 500 years. It's like a funeral yeast strain, basically. Like, if I died today, you guys want to have a party for me in a few days, and boom, you'd make a beer that evening and be ready to go at my funeral.
Nice. Yeah. Did you want to share not his recipe? Did you want to? Obviously it was on the can.
I'll go through some of his recipe. I won't give like exact weights or anything like that, but I'll just tell you what he used in it. So he uses Pilsner malt, which is the bulk of the malt grain itself. He uses a little bit of Munich malt and just a very, very little bit of Vienna malt. And I think the reason why he's using Vienna is maybe for a little bit of color, maybe just a little bit of extra, like little sweetness that kind of comes out of it. Now he boiled his for a lot longer than I thought was necessary. So I would do like a 60-minute boil. So at 60 minutes, you're gonna add in your Saaz hops. Then at 15 minutes, you're gonna add in some more Saaz hops with your Irish moss. And then at flame out, which is basically is when you turn the gas off, or if you're using like what Mike uses, you're gonna kill the heating element. You're gonna throw in the hallertau, how are you gonna say it? Hops. One day I'll learn how to say it properly. For yeast, you probably use any Helles style yeast. White Labs makes some pretty good ones. But the one thing that he did do, and I will talk about, is he does what's called a mash schedule, which I've never done and I've been wanting to do for a long time. Usually I just bring my water up to a strike temperature, toss in the grains, make sure it stays at that, blah blah blah, and go about business. So what he did, he brought his water up to about 130 degrees. He throws in all the grains in, and so brings it down to about 122 degrees somewhere there. That's called the protein rest. So what that does, it breaks down the protein and helps with clarity as well. And then from there, he bumps it up to about 145 to 149 degrees. That's called your beta rest. So what that does, it creates more fermentable sugars and helps promote a drier of a beer in a way as well too. And then he bumps it up again to 155 degrees, which makes it more of a fuller body. It gives it more of like a sweeter flavor on top of it. And then he does a mash out at 107 degrees. So what that does is stops all enzyme activities altogether and reduces any viscosity. So it makes it even like thinner and easier to drink and stuff like that. I've never gone that route before, but I'm really, like I said, his was just like I'd pay big bucks for that beer. So I'm gonna try his way.
So you put all of the grains in all at once. There's not like so step mashing basically is the temperature is the step, not like you're adding different grains at different temperatures to try and pull out different things. So
you can, depends on what style you're trying to make. For when I'm reading his notes that he gave me, all of his was what was at once. Some will say you're going to do the base malt itself, and then all the extra malts you may do later, say at the beta or alpha stage of it, just to get certain things from that. Yeah, so that's where it gets a lot more nerdy, because I've been doing this for almost 3 years now, so like I've not even tried to do this. So I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit more difficult for you to do it too, not having temperature controlled, not a temperature controlled system or whatever. So it might be easier for somebody like me, who I can just like set a program and just click go, let it go to that temperature and do whatever it's going to do, then go to the next temperature, do whatever it's going to do, and so on and so forth. So I feel like it'll take a little bit more effort on your part to like, okay, now turn up the heat for a little bit, and then try not to overshoot it, because then if you like overshoot it and like sterilize the whole thing, then that would suck.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
So overall, Helles, I would say is a good, like I would definitely try it. I would try every one that I see on tap, because it's obviously not an easy beer to make. It's not an easy beer to hide behind. Like any little mistake is going to be very obvious going forward. So if your homebrew friends have any kind of Helles or any kind of even light lager beer, they really need to know what they're doing, or have a good setup. So I would definitely try something from them. And then pseudo lagers are
they're not too bad. They're not too bad. Not too bad at all.
All right. So if you like this episode, let us know. We're trying to keep them short and sweet, and we're trying to give you like kind of a little bit of information and our thoughts and our brew, because brewing is kind of what at least Jeremy and I, and now that there's only two of us for today, we're just going to change the entire script. That's what it's going to do. But we want to try and kind of make sure that we're hitting some styles that we all like, and kind of like figure out our flow and do some stuff. But yeah, so
for sure.
Thanks for tuning in, and go have a pint with your pals.
Yeah, make sure you drink responsibly, join the Discord, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If anything you want to see from us, let us know. We have emails, Discord. Just let us know how we're doing. We'd appreciate it. So until then,
Cheers.
cheers.